morning, everyone, and welcome to this United Way webinar on supporting the end-of-life journey, serious and advanced illness planning with a doula. My name is Lisa Sierra. I'm here with the United Way, and before we begin, I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge that United Way's Healthy Aging and today's panelists acknowledge the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the First Nations of British Columbia, on which we gratefully work and gather. Personally, I'm calling in from the lands of four nations, the Ktunaxa, the Secwepemc, the Sinixt, and the Syilx. And I'm grateful to live and work and play in the place we now call Revelstoke today. I'd like to invite you to share your land acknowledgement and the place you're connecting from today in the chat box if you wish. We also have the question and answer section to the left of it where you can place your questions throughout the webinar. Just so that you're aware, we will be holding the questions until the end, but you're welcome to place them at any time as we'll be monitoring that chat box as well. So as we move into this webinar today, I'd like to introduce our presenter today, Jennifer Malmes. She has spent the last 25 years as a caregiver to persons at the end of life, the beginning of life, and the in-between. She's a mother of 5 and resides in the Kootenays. Jennifer is completing her master's in adult education and holds a Bachelor of General Studies with a focus on gerontology from Simon Fraser University. She developed the End-of-Life Doula and the Indigenous End of Life Guide curriculum in partnership with Doulas College. She is the co-founder of the End-of-Life Care Association of Canada, and her passion for quality end-of-life care inspired her to share her experience and empower others to fully live out their life. So I'd like to welcome you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for being here today. I'll let you take that away.
Thanks so much, Lisa. I'm just going to get ready to share my screen here. And here we go. So thanks for having me today. Before I start, I want to acknowledge that I come from and I'm living in the ancestral hunting grounds and waterways of the Silex and Okanagan people. And I wish to thank them for their continued stewardship over these lands in which I work and live. I am not actually from here. I am from Newfoundland, and I am Micmac ancestry from there. So today I'm going to talk about supporting the end-of-life journey, either through serious illness planning or what some people call advanced illness planning. And I really want to talk about what advanced care planning is, why it's important, and how end-of-life doulas can help support that. Well, we're better late than never because you don't have webinars on a Sunday. We did miss Advanced Care Planning Day, which is on April 16th of every year. And it's a time where Canadians are encouraged to set some time apart and think and talk and share what you would or would not want if you were at the end of your life, or if you had become sick and weren't able to speak for yourself. One of the misconceptions about this and about advanced care planning is that it's for people who are terminally ill or palliative or old, and that is simply not the truth. We can plan and take control over what happens to us and our end-of-life care and our serious illness care from a very early age. I actually encourage anybody over the age of 19 to participate in advanced care planning. And I have one child that is 20 now, and I have enlisted him to make sure that he has his advanced care planning done. I've had mine done since I was 29, which was actually yesterday. But so who is it for? And just before, if you're not sure what advanced care planning is, it really is a way for you to document, and it's a legal document, on what you would or wouldn't want if you would become incapacitated. And it also gives you an opportunity to list somebody as either a representative. Here in BC, we use the language representative. In other provinces, they use different language, like agent or substitute decision maker. But really what it is that you name someone to speak on behalf of yourself if you become incapacitated. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're making decisions for you. It just simply means that they are following the instructions that you've already put down in advance if you became unable to speak for yourself. If you don't name somebody, it becomes a little bit messy in some situations, because there may be lots of different people who want to have an opinion about what should happen to you, whether it's for a treatment or to stop a treatment or to start a treatment. And you may think that your family knows what you want, but they might not, because talking about end of life or serious illness is a hard topic to talk about with your family. And it makes it really vulnerable. It creates a vulnerable situation where not everybody is open to. I find that most of my clients as an end-of-life doula would rather speak to me about what they want at the end of life than their own children. And this is a reality because it is such a sensitive topic. I'm really happy that we pick one day a year where we can say, you know what, let's talk about this, and then we can put it to bed. So it's kind of nice that people can kind of put the lid on the jar, but maybe have some really good conversations with their family about it. Advanced care planning or serious illness planning should be completed before a healthcare crisis. Like I said, it's not reserved for somebody who is terminal or palliative, but it should be. I don't want to should anybody, but it should be completed before a healthcare crisis, proactively instead of reacting to a situation. And these can be done by anybody who is over the age of 19 here in BC, and the documents are witnessed by two competent witnesses that are over the age of 19. You don't need a lawyer to complete an advanced care plan, and they're readily available either through your health authorities or through the BC website, provincial website. So by completing your advanced care plan, you're letting others know what you would like, either because it's written or because you've had a conversation. Now, if you don't want somebody to speak for you, you can do what's called an advance directive. And this is very similar to an advanced care plan and naming a representative, only you're not naming somebody. You're really just writing down the wishes that you have, and you don't want anybody else to have a say in that. And that's fine for people who are independent and want to make their own decisions and don't want other people weighing in on it or putting that stress on somebody. However, there is a risk of something changing in your life and you not updating that paperwork. So having a representative, they would know, oh, you know, a grandbaby's going to be born next week. Maybe we should try something more. Whereas if it's just an advanced directive, it says, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And there's no live voice to speak for you in those times. I'm just going to keep going here. So there are 5 steps in advanced care planning. And again, these are the steps you want to do before you kind of document, and that's the last step, is record. And the legal documents, because it is a legal document, are readily available throughout the health authorities and the BC government. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to think about what's right for you, what's most important for you. And that could be, you know, It could be medical or spiritual or emotional. It could be, you know, my cat is the most important to me, and as long as my cat is on the edge of my bed, I'm okay. It could be spending time with others. It could be living at all costs. It could be not being in pain. So for advanced care plans are very unique to each person. And as a doula, it is my job to keep my own self out of it, so that they're able to explore their own values and beliefs and be able to express them to their families. The second step is to learn about the different medical procedures, the different options um, that are available. And it's really, it's when you're taking the evidence and the information that the doctor has provided, the hospital has provided about what you can and can't do or should or shouldn't do, or what they think would be best, and really balancing them with your own values and goals. So it's an opportunity to just look at the whole picture and learn about what's out there and what would serve you best. The third step is choosing, and that's the choosing of the representative to speak for you. Now, again, this could be, you may not want somebody to speak for you, but if you do not have an advanced directive or an advanced care plan, there is a certain list that the government will follow, or I guess the healthcare team will follow. And sometimes that is a perfectly fine list. And I do have it on one of my slides here. I don't want to go too far, but I'll show you in a moment. So it starts with your spouse and your children, and it goes down this list. The list can't be changed, and sometimes that is not the order of people who you would want to speak for you. And sometimes it can be quite scary. Families are different. Families are unique to each set of who's your nuclear family, your biological family, your chosen family, and the documents for advanced care planning really focus on that biological family and don't take into account friends and chosen family. Actually, friends and chosen family is number 8 on the list. And another fact is that if you have stepchildren or in-laws or step-parents, they're number 9 on the list. So if that's somebody that you want to speak for you, you really need to think about doing an advanced care plan, because they are going to be so far down the list that they may not get an opportunity to speak on your behalf. It doesn't have to be your spouse. Mine is not my spouse. Mine is my best friend, because we think the same. And I think that that is the case for some people, is that maybe they don't want to put the pressure on their spouse to do that, or you're closer to your sister, or your mom or your dad or your son or your daughter. So when you're choosing, think about all of the people that are closest to you and pick wisely. And again, they're not making decisions for you. They're following out the decisions that you've already documented in your advanced care plan or your serious illness plan. The next step is number 4, and that's talking and sharing. It's a great it's a great opportunity to share with your doctor, with your healthcare team, but also with your family about what you would and wouldn't want. It's almost an excuse to do so. They might not want to hear it, but finding ways to open the conversation, just like, hey, it's National Advanced Care Planning Day. It's time for us to think about this and to do this now. And then lastly is to record your wishes and beliefs in an advanced care planning document. In BC, it would be called, again, it's called a representative number 9 agreement or an advanced directive. There's also an advanced a representative number 7, and that is for more of minor and temporary decision making. And the representative number 9 agreement is the only one that covers end of life care. So in BC, this is typically what you will see. It's the My Voice Advanced Care Planning Guide. You can get this off of their website, and it kind of gives you all the different options here. So you've got your Section 7, your Section 9, and your Advanced Directive. And it also talks about enduring power of attorney, and that is when you appoint someone to make financial and legal decisions on your behalf if you become incapacitated. So there's a few different things that you can do. So here's that temporary substitute decision-making list that I was talking about earlier. And this is the list that you cannot change the order, that is determined by BC law. It is used if you do not have an advanced directive or an advanced representative number 9 agreement. So the first one is your spouse, and also your common law partner, could be same sex. The length of time living together doesn't matter. And I'll be totally honest here. This is why I got my 20-year-old to do their advanced care plan, because he is living with his girlfriend, and they've been girlfriend and boyfriend for 2 years. So if something happened to him, she would actually get to make his end of life or serious illness decisions. And as a mama, that's a no-go for me. So really, really important to think about what your living situation is and who is around you. So it goes from your spouse to your son or daughter, parent, brother or sister, a grandparent, a grandchild. And then number 7 is anyone else related to you by birth or adoption. And every time I say this, I've taught the End of Life course over 70 times, and I get to this number 7, and I think somebody's in the hallway of the hospital saying, "Hey, is anybody related to this person in here?" When number 8 is your close friend, and typically that is who might know you the best. And then number 9, like I've mentioned before, is anybody related by marriage. So in-laws, step-parents, and stepchildren. So if they're not named, they don't get a say in your end of life or serious illness decisions. Does this list scare anybody? Is this the right list for you? It can be scary, and it can be perfectly right. So just want you to think about that for a second for your own self. This list can get really small really fast as well. If you've never married, you've never had kids, you were an only child, both your parents are deceased, your grandparents are deceased, you're going down to number 7 in 1 minute, right? And then anybody related by birth or adoption. So really, really important just to consider who's in your nuclear family here and who you would want speaking for you. There's a lot of misconceptions about ACT. And I mentioned a couple before, that my family will know what I want. That's fine. Let them do it. Or I don't need one. I'm not sick. I'm not dying. A lot of people think that if they have a will or an executor or a power of attorney, that they don't need an advanced care plan. Yet that advanced care plan is the only document, the representation number 9 agreement is the only document that deals with end of life care. So whether to continue a treatment or start a treatment or stop a treatment that could affect somebody's life. A will is not read until somebody has passed, so that's out of the picture. And an executor is the person who carries out the wishes of the will. Now, a power of attorney and an enduring power of attorney can make minor medical decisions, and they can make financial decisions, but they cannot make end-of-life decisions for somebody. Another misconception is, yeah, why would I waste my time to do it if the healthcare staff won't follow it? And the healthcare staff is actually legally bound to follow it because it's a legal document. The only times that this does not have to be followed is if you actually are in a different province. So if you move, and lots of us, including myself, are very kind-hearted, and at the last years of our parents' life, we move our parents in with us. I moved my dad from Newfoundland before he passed away, and then you have to wait the 3 months so that they can get on BC Medical, and things like that. So if you move provinces, please, please, please make sure that your parents or yourself or whoever it is redo their wills. Not that I'm giving financial advice here, but the advanced care plans and any other important documents, because they do not transfer between provinces. I get a lot of people asking, well, what if I'm in Mexico or I'm in Arizona down in Yuma and I get sick? Does my advanced care plan, does it work there? Technically, they don't have to follow it, but if you keep a copy with you, most doctors will know that you've done this and you followed it. They're not legally bound to outside of the province that it's completed in, but if you have it with you, sometimes they will still follow that. Another misconception is, I might change my mind. What if I change my mind? And I think some of us, especially the women, can relate to this, is that if you're in labor and you said, I don't want any drugs, and then all of a sudden you're like, give me that epidural, you change your mind, but you've said in your birth plan, no, 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 no. What is there like a code word? Is there a secret word to say, yes, actually, I do want to change my mind? If you have had any life changes, or you think you may change your mind, it is time to update your advanced care plan. So if your illness progresses, either for the better or for the worse, it's time to look at your advanced care plan. If something has changed in your relationships with your family, it's time to look at your advanced care plan. If you've had a significant birthday, it's time to relook at your advanced care plan. And the last one is, I don't want somebody to speak for myself on my behalf. And I've already said earlier that then you can complete an advanced directive, and that will give the doctors and the medical team some guidance onto what you would like or wouldn't like. And it is also a legal document. Again, I mentioned wills, so I just wanted to remind myself, on the BC website, there are some really good documents saying what a power of attorney does, what a will and an executor does. So just to remind you, that is not included in an advanced care plan. Okay, so why am I here today, and why is this important? Now that we've covered what an advanced care plan is. Well, an advanced care plan increases your chances of your wishes being followed. It gives you a sense of control over what you would and wouldn't want. It reduces miscommunication between yourself, your family, the doctors. If it's an emergency crisis, things usually happen very chaotically, or decisions need to be made in a really short amount of time. And it is clear, if it is written and it is up to date, what your wishes are. And your representative should be able to follow that or give direction to the healthcare team based on what you've written. It improves your quality of life. If you want or don't want a treatment, and that is indicated on your advanced care plan, then the chances are is that's what it's going to be. That's what's going to happen. And it's your quality of life. So my quality of life versus one of your quality of life can be totally different. So for me, quality of life might mean I don't want to be hooked to machines unless if there's if there's a foreseeable chance that I will not come out of it. But I don't necessarily want to say I want a DNR, because in reality, having life support for a few days could give my body just enough energy to get better. And we've seen this during COVID, where people were placed on supports for a short amount of time in order to get them better. So really being choosy about the language that you use and how you say it. You might not want to say, I don't want life support. Well, maybe you'd be okay with it for a little while. But it's your choice about what you determine your quality of life to be. If you want to live, as long as you possibly can, that's your choice, and that would be quality of life for you. And if you would go through any lengths to do that, that should be your choice. It also, having an advanced care plan reduces those emotional decision-making times, when families are not really sure what you would and wouldn't want, and end of life, or having to make choices that could or couldn't affect somebody's life, are really stressful emotional times. It causes lots of anxiety. It causes lots of family feuds. One person might say, no, I know mom wanted this, and somebody would say, no, I know she wouldn't want that. It reduces that. It really does. If they and you have documented what you want and what you don't want clearly in your paperwork. And that really helps the family that's there supporting you to just be there with you, knowing that you've made those choices. And it really does reduce the stress from that, having, guessing. It improves communication. And the last thing that's important to policymakers, I guess, and people who run the hospitals, is that it reduces strain on the medical system. I think the newest stats are like over 85% of people want to be in their own home and die in their own home. And by putting in your advanced care plan the place that you would want to be at the last days or moments of your journey, and if that's at home, that does definitely reduce strain on the medical system. One thing that I do want to mention is that advanced serious illness and death are not always medical events. I've been at many deaths in the person's home, and those events, there's little pain, and it's different for everybody, but it's more relaxed. The family is present. The person is in their own home, and they get their own supports and their own comfort if they're in their own home. And I always think about the five. You have 5 fingers, and this is how I remember that you've got. What is the person looking at? What are they seeing? What are they hearing? What are they smelling? Maybe they want to smell, bread baking in the oven. Are they being touched? Are they able to sit in their favorite chair with their favorite blankets, and taste? Even if they can't eat, sometimes just a little taste of something on the tongue can really provide comfort. And I think for me, besides control over what happens to you at the end of your life, I think really determining what brings the person comfort is important. Yet that's one of the things that is readily left out of advanced care planning, because we focus so much on the medical. do you want intubation? Do you want dialysis? Do you want a pacemaker? And those things that we forget that we're not just physical bodies, but we're spiritual. We have emotions, we need comfort. And I think that with a doula, um, you can explore those other areas instead of just looking at this advanced care plan and thinking, wow, I have to figure out what medical stuff I want. There's so much non-medical things that you can add to your advanced care plan, and I don't want to lose sight of that as well. So here's just a couple of focused areas. I did mention that having an advanced care plan reduces family conflict. And it reduces the burden or the perceptions of a burden. It increases that communication. It lets the caregiver have a say and be involved in what's happening as well. And when I say that, I mean, if you have a conversation with someone who's not comfortable in making those decisions for you, that before you just name somebody and say, yep, that person can do that for me. Because in BC, the person who you name as your representative actually has to sign your representative agreement. And that's not true for every province. So sometimes it's surprise, you're the one named on the document, but here in BC, the person who is named as your representative does have to sign it. And I think that opens up an opportunity for communication, but they can also read through it and make sure that they are okay with carrying out your wishes. If your wishes are very different than what theirs are, they might say, you know what, thank you for thinking of me, but I just don't think I'll be emotionally okay with that, or I just can't do that. So it gives you that opportunity to have those conversations. And again, you can do the advanced directive if you don't have a representative, but if you want one and you're not quite sure who to name and you don't have a connection with your biological family, then it's time to explore your social network, see who you have in your life that you may trust with this. And I've seen some people hire professionals such as a trust company or a lawyer or a health advocate, and that's okay as well. There are some doctor orders that will come later down the road. This is not a part of advanced care planning. These are some forms that you might see, and I just wanted to throw them in there. With the conversation, they might come up, especially if the person is nearing the end of their journey, the end of their life. And there's more documents that come up. These are not documents that we think about if we're doing advanced or serious illness. These are more of, yes, there's a certainty about your future, and we know that the end of life is near. And these are all doctor orders. So you might hear of a most designation, and really what that is, it's here in this chart, and it really allows the healthcare team know very quickly of what treatment they could or could not offer you, or they should or should not offer you. So if you, for example, have a CPR C2, they're going to do everything. That includes site transfers, intubation, put you in ICU, but you might have a DNR1, DNR M1, and that means they're going to relieve your symptoms. But if something was to happen, they're not going to resuscitate you. They're not going to intubate you. They're not going to move you to ICU or to another location. So it really just, it is what it is. It's most designations. It designates how much or how little intervention that you would want. So you might see one of these, especially if you're going in to a long-term living assistance. They do a lot of advanced care planning and most designations up on admittance on those. Similar to the most designation is that the no CPR form, and you know, we refer to it sometimes as a DNR, and really that is do not resuscitate me if I become unable to breathe or my heart is not beating. And lastly, another doctor's order, and this one is my favorite. It came, or I think it became legal in BC in 2011, and it has been such an impactful form. Again, these aren't a part of your advanced care planning, but these are documents that I really did want to share. And this one is the notification of expected death in the home. And what that form does, it allows a person to die at home without sending an ambulance, the police, the fire, or bringing a person back into the hospital. It's an agreement between the doctor and the funeral director that they will, that the doctor says, yes, this person is going to die. This person is going to die in the next 3 months because they are good for 3 months. And this family doesn't have to call 911. This family can call the funeral home directly, and the funeral home can come and retrieve the body. It's such an impactful, powerful document because it allows somebody to stay at home. It allows somebody to keep their loved one at home for a little bit of time. You do have to contact the funeral home within an hour, but the funeral home doesn't necessarily have to come straight away. They can allow for time so family can come and visit. And it really just, it makes things less chaotic. So those are some extra forms that I find are very important just to have some knowledge about. I talked about non-medical considerations, and again, what's your favorite smell? What's your favorite sound? What's your favorite activity? And why don't we put these in our advanced care plans so that people that are around us who are providing comfort care know that, hey, we hate the smell of lavender, so please don't, you know, have lavender incense going in my room because that's not my favorite smell. Or you have pets at home that you're really worried about and you just want to know that they're okay, and that's causing anxiety, and anxiety causes pain, and it causes so much other things like sleep, you know, not being able to sleep and things like that. So what are some of those non-medical considerations that you can do, or that you want to let people know that they can do to help make you comfortable? And again, in here, you can talk about where you would want to be, where you wouldn't want to be, what would be unacceptable for you. And is there any spiritual or cultural things that need to be considered? Do you want a pastor or an elder to come? Do you want music? Do you want singers to come in? So there's so many other things besides medical that we can include in this advanced care plan. I've seen a horse go into a hospice. So lots of different options. I've seen some of the most beautiful deaths where, you know, somebody in Lynn Canyon, somebody who's on the North Shore, her favorite place was Lynn Canyon at the waterfalls, and she was too ill to get down to it. But somebody was able to go get a bucket of water from Lynn Canyon and bring it to her, and she dipped her hands into that icy cold water, and that was so wonderful to be a witness to, you know, those moments. So when should you do it? I'm going to say you should do your advanced care plans. If you don't have one, I would encourage you to do one, because it was a National Advanced Care Planning Day on Sunday, and we're just going to extend it over to Tuesday. So I would encourage you to do it now. I'd encourage your kids that are over the age of 19 to do it if they haven't, especially if they are living in common law. You don't need to have, this huge, long life behind you to do an advanced care plan. And I think it's really important. Let's see. And here are some resources. The My Speak Up plan is a really good go-to. It will let you go in there. You can click on resources, and it'll ask you what province you're in, and it'll bring you right to all the documents that you need to know for your province. So it's a very good resource. You can access that through Canadian Hospice and Palliative Care. They also have resources. If you or your person is not comfortable talking about end of life, maybe they'd be more comfortable talking about serious illness. And for that, the Plan Well Guide has, I believe, 6 modules that you can complete. The first one really it helps get you on the right path of what you would or wouldn't want in a serious illness situation, because sometimes that is easier to talk about than end of life. Both My Speak Up Plan and Plan Well guides are great resources. So I'd encourage you to check those out. And again, if you're looking for the specific legal BC documents, Service BC has them all on their website. They can be downloaded. You don't have to go looking for the yellow My Voice book. You can download it. You can fill it out from at your own home. The one thing about it is that it cannot be done electronically, so it does have to be printed and it has to be scribed in. And now I'm going to move into doulas. So how can doulas help? And I think I've mentioned it a couple of times throughout, but for those of you who don't know what an end-of-life doula is an end-of-life doula is a companion who provides non-medical and non-medical practical and emotional support to those who are planning, so before and during the dying process, if that's the trajectory that they're on, and then after death. And we also support the family in the planning and the going through and the grief and the bereavement. We help and encourage proactive planning so that everybody's on the same page, and that we can kind of look at it through the lens of uncertainty. Like, yes, we don't know how this is going to happen or when this is going to happen, but in most cases, what brings person comfort in the choices that they make today are going to be the same choices that they're going to make later in life. So as a doula, we're invited to journey with people, help them plan, think about their fears, their wishes, their goals, and help them document that and include the right resources and the right people around them. I have a story to share. Oh, one more. So core competencies of an end-of-life doula, I just want to share that, is that we try to establish a common ground. We're not trying to put our own wants and beliefs in that. We really do try to empty ourselves of ourselves in our own opinion when we're supporting somebody. Our skills and our approach is based on emotional intelligence and cultural humility. So trying to see it from their point of view, and yeah, we just try to support people fully and wholly in what they need and what their family needs. So I'm going to share a little story about Dorothy, and Dorothy was my longest client, and she did give me permission before she passed to share her story far and wide if I would want to. Dorothy came to me with 4 months to live because she had a brain cancer that was very aggressive. And the first time we sat, I said, okay, so she had no paperwork done, nothing. She's young. Most of my clients are under 50. So just saying that death is not reserved for the elderly. Yes, it happens at a more frequently, but a lot, it's not just reserved for the elderly. Dorothy was in her 50s, and she came to me with 4 months to live, and we talked about her advanced care plans, what she would or wouldn't want, where she wanted to pass, and what she wanted to do with the time that she had left. And Dorothy really had a small bucket list, but she wanted to achieve that. And she packed up her whole family. So she has 5 kids and 5 grandkids, and she took them to Hawaii. And we had a plan. What if she got sick while she was there? What if she died while she was there? What if she needed emergency medical treatment while she was there? And we played kind of like the what if game when we were planning for this. And Dorothy got her wish. She actually went to Hawaii 3 times before she passed because she didn't live 4 months. She lived 2.5 years. And we don't know how long these illness trajectories can be. And her goal was that at her funeral, she wanted to die at home with her family surrounding her. She wanted to have a living funeral. She wanted to actually be there, but she unfortunately passed before that was able to happen. But at her funeral, we had a luau, and she had planned that because she wanted control. She was the alpha mama. And she wanted control of that. So at her funeral, everybody came in their Hawaii gear. Everybody had leis, and we had a wonderful time. And she orchestrated that. And that's something that I'm proud to say that's what we do as end-of-life doulas, is we really try to help people dig out their priorities, their values, their wishes, their beliefs, and make them a reality. Now, they're not always as big as going to Hawaii. Sometimes it's seeing a friend that they haven't seen that lives down the street 10 minutes. So don't worry. You don't all have to go to Hawaii, but if that's on your bucket list, you could do that. Another thing that I want to mention before I am finished is that end-of-life doulas really what I noticed is that the ways that we do things and the approach that we take is very connected with some of the Indigenous ways of doing things. And when I was going in to create the Indigenous End of Life guide, there was a lot of things that I could leave out because they get it, they know it, they do it already. So this is one of my passion projects right now, is to go into as many First Nation communities and help them keep their loved ones at home if that's what they want to do, because we don't want people getting transferred from a small remote town by plane down to Vancouver where they don't have that family and those connections down there. And that, again, that's my own personal thing, but I always like to share that. And that's it. That's all I've got. I don't know if I've taken way too much time. I wasn't sure, but I get going and I can't stop. So I do absolutely love working as an end-of-life doula, teaching as an end-of-life doula, and I'm good to answer any questions that are going to come up. And Lisa, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jennifer. I think it's a really important sort of wake up call, at least for myself, around the importance of it. It's like you need to get a little uncomfortable around it, but certainly there's really great reward in dying well. So we do have a couple of questions. I'm going to just bring them up in the order that they appeared in. Before we do that, I just wanted to make sure, I'm going to post this in the chat because we have one of the attendees, Amy, who did take the course at Douglas College last year with Tracy, and she'd like to offer help for anyone doing the advanced care plan so that she can gain some experience, and this would be a free service. So I'm going to post this in the chat. Thank you so much for offering that.
Thanks so much, Amy. Really appreciate that.
Okay, so our first question is Shauna is asking, what is your suggestion for supporting representative who panic often in a crisis and direct medical staff for more advanced interventions than the person had directed? And you did touch on that. So,
yeah, and again, when that is happening, then you probably didn't pick the right representative. I mean, it still would happen, but these are the things that you want to consider when you're picking the representative. Is, do you think this person is going to panic? And sometimes the people who you think that are not going to panic, they do panic. But you try to pick people who have some knowledge of the medical system and people who can stay level-headed in those. So I think really thinking about who you're choosing, if it does happen, allowing them the space and a quiet space to just think and be present in that moment and be mindful of the questions that are being asked and the decisions that they have to make. Maybe they just need to be out of the room for 5 minutes, and that will help them out.
Okay, thank you. We have another question from Jude, wondering where to keep the AACP so that it can be accessed in case of an emergency, right? Because oftentimes we don't necessarily know. So how would a medical team know about it? And what's
and I thought I had it in my slide, but it must have gotten removed somehow. So there are but if I get up and I'm going to be all blurry, there are things, and they're called a green sleeve, and they're just a little green folder, and in that, every ambulance driver, every fireman, anybody who comes into somebody's home knows, and they belong on the refrigerator. So if you don't have this green folder, and you can get them from Fraser Health, Vancouver Coastal Health, whatever health authority that you're in, Home Health carries them. No green sleeves in Vancouver Coastal. Yes, I have had a client in Vancouver Coastal. They didn't have a green sleeve. So we put an envelope on the fridge and it said, "My wishes." And that stayed on the fridge. And the envelopes are a perfect little size to put in your purse and take with you. So if you've worked in healthcare, you know that things are located on the fridge, or like on top of the fridge, or on the fridge. If you're in Saskatchewan, they go in the freezer. So always has something to do with the fridge. And even in seniors' homes, a lot of them don't only have the little mini fridge, then it's the microwave. So yes, thanks.
Yeah, that's true. Our, for example, for some of you that may be in the interior, there's sometimes called the Blue Bottle program. United Way has, they're called life kits. So they are available. You can, you might have to do a bit of digging, but they are out there. I'm not sure about Vancouver, unfortunately. And then Helen was just asking for a simple template, potentially. I know that also sparked my interest because I thought, well, what does it look like? You mentioned all the 5 senses and, all these things, but I feel like I wouldn't even know where to begin. So is it possible to find little templates to guide that?
Absolutely. On the My Speak Up Planet, they have a ton of different tools on how to have a conversation. Here's some tools for practice. The 5 senses, I don't know, I don't want to take the credit for it, but I kind of came up with that on my own. If you're trying to start the conversation, there are different ways to do it. And there's a lot of card games. So I have ones from the UK. They're my favorite. This is called Your Life Talks. There's also the Death Deck. There's My Wishes. There's a few different games to help start the conversation as well, because that can be the most difficult part, is starting that conversation. And if you think you've got an in and the door's open just this much, just stick your foot in the door and just try to stay there in the uncomfortableness, because I know it's uncomfortable. And you will be rewarded for that. You know, you don't want to push, push the door open, but if you can just start planting the seed, and really focus in. If they're asking questions, just make sure that you're mindful of that.
Is it possible, I didn't notice, to share your address with your email address with some of the participants? I see there's a question here that might be best had as a conversation.
For sure, and I'm open to anybody emailing me some questions. Can I go in the chat while we're here? Okay, I can do it.
Yeah, so Lindsay is just asking about the sustainability, financial sustainability, in terms of having this as a career path, or what that would look like to, So great, thank you so much. We are at time, it's 11:01, and I'm going to be respectful of people's time and days, but thank you so much for your super informative and heartfelt presentation today. I think it's really great to explore these areas that are sometimes more easily avoided, right? But there's
purposely avoided, not easily, purposely avoided.
Yeah, purposely avoided. So yeah,
I just want to encourage everybody to take a couple of hours today, because if you've missed on Sunday, unless you did Sunday, then congrats. But take some time today to chat with your family and see what if they ask them, what do you think I would want? And guaranteed it's not exactly what you would have answered. So take some time to talk with your family about this. Thank you so much for having me.
Fantastic. It was lovely to have you, and thanks for posting your email address. I'm sure you'll get some additional questions towards the end. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending today. We look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Thank you.